Good morning. Welcome back to the live stream. Today is Saturday, November 15th. I don't know why I have to look at the date. I look at it 25 times a day. I know the date, but here we are. Hi, how are you? How are you doing? My name is Angela. I'm a software engineer and a front-end developer in St. Paul, Minnesota. And on this channel, we practice HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. We are all vanilla all the time. We don't have anything against frameworks or libraries. We just like to practice the basics. It's our niche. That's what it is. Niche, Nietzsche, niche. It's not philosophical. I call it a niche. And on the mean streets of YouTube, you kind of have to have one. So here we are. And Monique Robinson is here. Greetings to all. Welcome. And Malik Robinson is also here. Armand's in the chat. Not related, just a coincidence. Say hello to Malik and Monique if you get a chance, if you're not on the replay at least. How's everybody doing? I'm doing well. I had a really busy week in the best way, as in just really productive. Productive like work-wise, but I also like was very intentional this week about logging off and doing other things, which felt really good. I enjoyed that very much. I was doing a lot of fiber type things this week. I dyed a bunch of yarn. I didn't do any spinning. I wanted to do some spinning. I mostly was dyeing yarn this week. I had like people who I had promised yarn. That nobody cares about this, but this is my week. I had people who I had promised some yarn to, like one friend in particular who needed this like sort of black charcoal gray yarn, so I dyed it for her. It looks great. It's hanging up in my bathroom right now drying. It turned out fantastic. Plus I dyed some yarn. I'm going to knit a hat for my dad. Hopefully he's not watching this. He sometimes watches, but he can't see the yarn, so just forget that I'm going to do that for you, Dad, if you're watching. And yeah, that took up a huge chunk of my evenings this week, but my God, it was worth it to be a little more intentional about logging off and just doing something else, which I don't do often enough. So there's that. Yeah, I hope everybody's doing well. Let's see here. One moment. And Bikash is here. What are we going to learn today? Well, we are going to continue working on the project that we started a couple of weeks ago. I didn't really, I go back and forth on how much I should prep for the live streams. And so it's been 15 months. I've been doing this now for 15 months, and I've kind of learned that I need to do some prep ahead of time, but I've also learned that I don't need to do that much prep. Like part of the whole point of this is not that you see me working perfectly through and never needing to solve a problem because I solved it ahead of time. That's pointless, and it also doesn't work. I'm here to tell you that doesn't work. It doesn't matter how well I think I've prepped. I almost always still get stuck in real time. So I stopped doing that. I don't worry anymore about making sure that I'm writing perfect JavaScript or that I'm always writing JavaScript without the help of AI. That's not me. I need help. And if it was the real world and a real job or a real employer or a real freelancer or client or whatever, I would be using AI happily. And I would sleep like a baby at night knowing that I got the job done quickly and efficiently because I had competent help from either GitHub Copilot or ChatGPT. And then when it comes to the HTML and the CSS, I need almost zero help. I would say pretty much need zero help from AI doing HTML and CSS, unless there's like maybe something very nuanced or obscure that I don't remember or I've never done before, or if I have an accessibility question. But I think that we can all agree that for the most part, it's just me and my brain writing the CSS. So I don't feel bad at all about needing to use AI for JavaScript. Some JavaScript I do have memorized and I know how to do. Like my JavaScript for the toggle for the navigation, I pretty much know how to do. Although I do have it written down here in front of me to reference if I need to. For everything else, we're going to use GitHub Copilot. I don't have time outside of the stream to sit and learn how to do a bunch of coding, so I can give you the impression that I somehow know how to do something that I don't actually know how to do. I just am starting to get over that. I don't have time for that anymore. It's not authentic and it doesn't serve you guys at all, because the reality of development is that you will be expected to use AI to work faster and smarter and more efficiently, and that includes me. That includes me. Even 12 years into this, that includes me. So that's whatever happens in the stream happens. I'm done feeling pressure to be like perfect or to look a certain way. It is what it is. We're all here to learn and to practice, and to pretend that I can do something I can't doesn't serve anybody. It doesn't serve me and it doesn't serve you. So that's where I'm at. This is my way of saying I didn't prep for today because I don't know what the point is anymore. We're just going to jump in and see where it takes us. Also, I think I've completed plenty of projects on these live streams, more than enough projects to prove that I know how to start something and I know how to finish something. How long it takes from here to there doesn't really matter. Doesn't matter. So there's that. And Bikash says, I'm new to your channel. I got clicked by seeing vanilla CSS and JavaScript because I am learning this. If you don't mind, can I get your intro? You're just wondering maybe a little more about me? Yeah, I can tell you more about me. I am a front-end developer and a software engineer. I've been doing this for 12 years. I enjoy doing vanilla HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. I'm not a lover of frameworks, although I did use Vue.js for the last 7 years at my last job. I've been a Sass user for a long time. I sort of recognized on YouTube that there was a gap. There weren't that many dev channels talking about just using vanilla or going back to basics. I also had some experiences working with junior developers who didn't know any of the basics. They spent tens of thousands of dollars on boot camps. They could build a React app, but they didn't understand display properties or positioning or z-index or, the basics that have existed in CSS for decades. They didn't know how to do those things. And then I started doing the live streaming because I thought, honestly, I don't want to be rude about the other developers on YouTube. That's not what I want to do. But I do see a lot of development content that I don't understand how it really adds value to development. I see a lot of top 10 lists and do these top 5 things, and I'm just like, how does that add value? And the answer is obviously that it doesn't, and that this is YouTube, and that a lot of developers are making content based on clicks and views, not on adding value, not in my opinion. I wanted to come onto YouTube and try to find a way to add a little bit of value, and I felt like the best way to do that was to actually live stream myself working, let people see that even somebody with a lot of experience, hear what my thought process is and how I think critically about solving problems, and that could be helpful to you guys, not even just new developers, but just people in general who want to watch how another person works. That was how I learned back in 2010, 2012, when there weren't boot camps and courses and tutorials, at least not like they exist today. I started my career doing WordPress, and I don't know if people really realize this. I was sort of refreshing my memory on this. So we all know who Chris Coyier and CSS Tricks is, right? Yeah, this is not it. Here it is. So I don't think people realize that this happened back in 2012. So Chris Coyier, and CSS Tricks is no longer owned by Chris Coyier. He started it in 2007, I think, and he sold it a couple years ago to DigitalOcean, and there's been some drama around that. But back in 2012, Chris Coyier was he was obviously well known in the front end development community because of CSS Tricks, but he was also a regular working dev. He wanted to quit his job to redesign CSS Tricks. So he did a Kickstarter campaign to raise $3,500. And in something like 12 days, he raised $89,697. And I think that this is when Chris and the rest of the community really figured out how impactful he was on the front end development community, how much influence he really had, because people couldn't donate fast enough to help him meet his goal and obviously exceed his goal by tens of thousands of dollars. And this is when CSS Tricks really blew up. So he quit his job. He had he was financed now. He could really dive into CSS Tricks and do this redesign. And he screencast the entire redesign process from start to finish. It was hundreds of hours of videos. He created a back end to CSS Tricks called The Lodge. Now, I didn't learn about this. This is right when I was like thinking to myself, oh, I think I want to do this for a living. I was in graduate school. I was getting a master's degree in technical communication. I had been dabbling in development since 2009, 2010, but I thought it was really hard. I was having a tough time and I had stopped doing it for many months. Then I was in graduate school and we had to make a website for a class and I got back into it. And then I was like following CSS Tricks because it came up in Google results when I was learning. And he had this back end called The Lodge. And for $10 a month, you could join The Lodge and you would get access to all of the videos from this entire redesign process. And CSS Tricks is a WordPress website. And that experience of watching him from start to finish, the design, writing down the goals, doing the design in Photoshop, doing all of the HTML first, then the styling, then turning it into a WordPress theme. Hearing him talk through the process, hearing him troubleshoot, hearing him think critically about what his vision was and how he was going to achieve that goal, that was so instrumental to my process. And ever since, I've had just like this running commentary in my head every time I work. And of course, for years, I've been saying, Angela, start a YouTube channel, like start doing this, show other people, like maybe you could help other people like he helped me. So that's where this sort of was all born from. So for people who don't know this story about CSS and CSS Tricks and Chris Coyier, it's an incredible story. Look at $3,500. He raised $89,697. I mean, I just remember being completely blown away by this. I mean, he, no question, has been incredibly influential in the front-end development community, and I don't think new developers really understand the impact that he had in that website. And this project in particular, this is when I was like, whoa, there's like big things are happening in front end development. This was just, I don't know, it was really impactful for me to see something like this. So that's where I got the idea to, I guess, start the YouTube channel, although this was obviously a decade ago that this happened, more than a decade ago. But yeah, this was really influential in my wanting to be a developer. So, and I've had agency jobs, I've been a freelancer, a contractor. The last job I had, I was the lead front-end developer and manager of front-end development at the University of St. Thomas in St. Paul, Minnesota. Now I'm back to being a full-time freelancer, content creator, contractor. So good. Yeah, let me know if you have any other questions. Listen, I'm no different than anybody else. Of course I love talking about myself, and I love talking about my experience and all the weird things that I've done. So, and welcome. I'm glad you're here. Hope that you find this useful and interesting and helpful. So there's that. Okay. And do me a favor, if you haven't liked this video yet, would you be so kind as to do so? Helps us get this pushed out to more people who might enjoy this type of content. Helps the algorithm and all that jazz. I do not go live daily. I go live on Saturday and Sunday. So just Saturday and Sunday. It's 10:30 a.m. Central Standard Time where I live in St. Paul, Minnesota. So I don't go live daily. I have gone live at different points during the week, but that's just experimental. This is pretty much my normal schedule. I create additional content. I just did a DevOps video that I posted on Friday. I'm going to be doing a lot more DevOps content in 2026 because if there's one thing that I think front-end developers don't, in my experience and from what I've seen, just in my own experience, I've just run into so many front-end developers who aren't really learning DevOps or understanding deployment or managing a server. We have a lot of really incredible one-click solutions now for deployment, but people really don't know how to do the work themselves. And I want to see people, especially front-end developers, play a bigger role in that. You'll be far more valuable on your teams and to your organizations if you have a better understanding of DevOps. So, and Christian Code says, hey, I was polyhype last week. Oh yeah, welcome. You're a new developer. I remember you. You're a new developer and you were a little worried that you felt like maybe it was too late and you didn't know if it was worth it. And I think I encouraged you to stick with it. I started posting videos of my front end journey thanks to your comments last week. Yay! 34 years old does not mean it's too late. Thank you. Well, you are very welcome. That warms my heart. You have no idea how good that makes me feel. I didn't start learning till I was 34 years old. I didn't write a line of code until I was 34 years old. And that was back when I was in corporate America. I was a paralegal and a commercial debt collector at a mid-sized law firm in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And I never once thought that I thought I was going to work in that law firm until the day I died. And I was bored and unhappy and I didn't think I had any other choices. And boy, was I obviously... I'm so glad that I decided to go in this direction because I am so much happier. It is never too late. We need people. We don't just need the youngins like Malik, who is in his 20s. I mean, we need Malik. Believe me, we need Malik. We need fresh young people, but we also need people with lived experiences. I cannot tell you how important this is in technology and in development. We solve problems. And when people enter the field having had some life experiences and some lived experiences, they bring a fresh perspective to the problem solving that we do. So thank you for sharing that with me. I am so proud of you. I'm so happy for you. And yes, keep going. And if you want to share, I you're not able to post links in the chat, but if you can share where you're posting your videos, I'm happy to give it a plug. If you I listen, I have a tiny audience. There's like 5 people watching right now. We're growing. We'll get there. But if you want to give us a plug, I would love to see some of your videos if you would like to share. So, there's that. So, yay, we're off to a great start today. Oh, and speaking of Malik, Malik messaged me this week that he's learning React. And what did you say, Malik? You said it's just like vanilla JavaScript, but you have to do a whole bunch of extra stuff. So I thought that that was funny. I don't know React. So I'm going to wait for Malik to share his experience with me. So let me see here. Okay, here we go. Oh, this is a good question. Mayoresh Joshi, I hope I'm saying your name right. Has there been a time when you lost motivation? If yes, what kept you going? Oh, 100%. 100% I have lost motivation. And here's the thing though, I think that that is a normal part of life. Losing motivation is a normal part of life. My motivation ebbs and flows a lot. It I mean, because my professional life and my personal life are kind of intermeshed, right? I think that's how, I mean, how is it not intermeshed for all of us? So sometimes what's going on in my personal life influences what's going on professionally and I lose motivation and vice versa. I mean, I left my job at St. Thomas earlier this year in March, and I can't stress enough what a great employer they were, and they really took care of us during COVID, and they're like fiscally responsible and they look out for us and they treat us well. But oh my God, I was so bored and I was not feeling motivated or excited. I felt the opposite. I remember telling my boss more than once, I said, her name is Jennifer. I was like, Jennifer, I think I'm too old to learn new things. I just said, I was like, I think I'm just getting too old. Like, my brain just doesn't want to learn new things. I'm not excited by any of this anymore. And then that's when I started the YouTube channel because I just couldn't stand how I was feeling. I couldn't stand how unmotivated I felt. So I started the YouTube channel probably because I was so unmotivated. I had no F's left to give. And that changed everything for me. It like instantly got me excited and motivated again. So I think losing motivation is just such a normal part of life. I will also say this, motivation doesn't just materialize. Motivation follows action. Motivation requires momentum. So if you're not feeling motivated, you shouldn't wait around waiting to feel motivated. You have to take action and you have to let that momentum build, and that's where the motivation ultimately comes from. So I hope that that helps. And let's check out Christian codes. Let's see here. Look at this. Christian, are you going to give me a copyright strike if I play one of your videos? Let me know. If you don't want me to, I won't. And Malik says, yes, React is just a combination of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, except it feels like a lot more steps to reach the same point as if you would do it with just vanilla. Well, isn't that interesting? Let's see here. Oh, and you've gone live too. Look at you. Coding, gaming, weight loss tips. I love this. Nope. Play day 0. Let's see here. Where does it say day 0? So I think, oh, here we go. Day 0.
All right. Hi, my name is Chris. This is Christian Codes. I am trying to become a web developer, preferably front end, But during this time, I'm probably going to learn not only the front end but the back end. But I'm really going to try to focus on front end. That's what I've been doing. This is day 0. Um, a little bit about me. I am a veteran. I got a degree. I went to school to get a degree in computer science, hit a math wall, and was like, this isn't for me. Um, I decided that I was gonna go for graphic design. Got a degree in graphic design. Went back to school for my master's. Was gonna get a degree in counseling and human development, and 5 classes away, I realized that this isn't what I wanted to do. So you could tell, like, during my life, I've been literally trying to figure it out. But I'm at a point where um, I am 34. I want to move forward with my life. And I was thinking, like, really hard after, especially in July. In July, I turned 34 and I lost my job in July. I had a IT job. And I had to really sit and think about what I wanted to do with my life going forward. And because I knew I couldn't keep jumping around. I can't keep, because in about 6 years I'll be 40. Um, and I can tell even at this point in my life, my energy is definitely not what it used to be when I was 20 something. So I was just thinking to myself, like, what do I want to do with my life? What is something that I kept returning to? And I remember when I was younger, I think I was like 14 or 15. They gave me some money, and I went out and bought a C++ book on game development. And I spent $60 on that book, and my parents were mad at me, but I was like so excited. I didn't understand that book, but I noticed that after that, I kept going back to coding. Like I would dibble and dabble in web development. I would dibble and dabble in game development. I would go even in for my undergrad thesis, I did like a little memory mashing game in Unity and C Sharp. And it just seems like this is something I just keep coming back to. And I noticed that when I'm sitting here and I'm coding and I'm learning, it just feels like the hours pass by. And I was like, you know what? I think this is what I'm supposed to do. And not only that, but I realized that when you're on the path that I've gone on, you become a jack of all trades. And I want to have mastery in something. Like, I need to be good, for me to be good and competent at something, not only for a job but for my own mental health. Like, I want to know, like, hey, this is when people pass away, you remember them for their occupation. Oh, this person was a basketball player, this person was a cook, this person did this. um I don't want my profession in this big JRPG to be, oh, just a random NPC or something like that. So I've been really.
Wow. Oh my gosh. I don't think we can watch the full 30-minute video, though I am going to finish watching this. Christian, thank you so much for sharing this with me. So first of all, subscribe and like. Can we please all subscribe to Christian Codes? I think this is so cool, and I think that what you're saying in this video is very similar to my own experience, because I didn't think of it quite in terms of that. I do often think sometimes, like, what will I be remembered for? Because I think if human history teaches us anything, it's that most people, with even if you have a family, probably within a generation or two, you fade into obscurity. We're not necessarily remembered, right? And that's a normal part of life and death and the history of the planet and all that, right? But I also wanted to be a master of something. And I knew from the moment I started learning front end that 100% this was my calling. I was supposed to get up every day and be a coder and do front end specifically. I just knew that. I loved it that much. So this speaks volumes to me. And here's the thing about age. You made the comment, in another 6 years I'm going to be 40. I'm just going, it's not a secret how old I am. I had a video on my channel sort of saying how old I was, but I've privated the video. It's just not a very good video. I'm just going to go ahead. There's only 9 people here. I am self-conscious about it, but I'm just going to say it. I am 50 years old. If I can do it at this age, trust me, you have plenty of time, my friend. The world is at your fingertips at the age of 34. Even if you were 40, I would still think that. So I'm 50 and I still feel like I have more opportunities than I can shake a stick at. So I think this is really cool. Thank you so much for sharing this with us. I'm definitely a fan. I'm going to tune in for a live stream. It looks like you're streaming also. We need more people like this. I think that the dev community needs more people like this, talking about their own lived experiences, sharing how they work. Because I do think that the dev content right now on YouTube, it's a little too slick. It's a little too polished. It's a little too bro coder, for lack of a better term. And I don't want to diminish the people behind those channels who I know have worked hard to be good at what they do, but I also think that they're sort of following a trend that's popular on YouTube, and I wish more real people were showing their coding experiences. So that's why I think this is so cool. So, wow. I love it. I love it. So thank you for joining us and hanging out. And I hope that, yeah, you get something out of this, and you should definitely continue to pursue this, especially if it's starting to feel like a calling, which I think it is for you. So let's see here. What else? Oh, Bakash, your message got deleted. Sorry about that. Nightbot is Nightbot has a mind of its own sometimes. So yeah, we love to see what other people are the other people's process for learning. Stop it, Malik. You did not think we were the same age. Emotionally, we might be the same age, as in you are emotionally more mature than I am. So yeah, you're welcome. I just think this is, I just want to see more real people on YouTube. That's what gets me excited, is seeing more real people on YouTube. So you should definitely keep going with this channel too. 473 subscribers. Well done. One moment. So it looks like I'm sorry that Nightbot keeps deleting your link, Bakash. So I'm gonna put back up here. Malik reposted it for you. So I am Bakash, a computer science graduate currently pursuing, it must be the dots. I think it's the dots in your Master of Science that it's interpreting as links. That's what I think Nightbot is doing. I'm eager to learn, improve my skills, and build a strong tech career. I'm looking for guidance to grow and secure a job. So, unfortunately, I am not a good resource for finding a job, and here's the reason why. I've been asked this a couple times the last couple of weeks, and I'm happy to explain why. It's because if I could get into the head of the modern tech recruiter and understand what they were thinking, I would happily tell you what that is. But when I see the job postings on LinkedIn and whatnot, they just look so wild to me, what people are expected to know how to do. They are framework heavy. They expect everybody to be a unicorn. There's also so much competition right now because so many big tech companies were over hiring. Tens of thousands of developers have been laid off and are looking for jobs. So new developers like Malik are up against really seasoned, experienced developers with years of experience. And it's making it very difficult for new developers to get a job. So I'm going to give you some somewhat generic advice on finding a job, which is understand the basics. Don't worry about knowing the most popular framework. Just make sure that you know one or two frameworks really, really well, because if you know one, you can probably easily jump in and learn another framework, and make sure that you have a portfolio. I can't tell you how important I think that that is. Make sure that you have a website and that you have a portfolio and that you can demonstrate your experience for your future employers. Because if you want to convince an employer that you can do front end work, I think you need to be able to show an employer the front end work that you've done. And unfortunately, you're going to have to do the whole leet code thing, which I think is absurd. I just think it's crazy. But you unfortunately are going to have to do that because they're going to want you to be able to solve problems and do algorithms and things like that. Things that, especially in front end, I don't think matter. So, yeah, I wish I could tell you about what you need to do to get a job. It's very difficult right now. New York Code is here. He's working on his 16th project. Nice. I was trying to count my projects for 2025, and I think I have around a dozen or so. Feeling very, very smug about that number, by the way. Yeah, I think that Nightbot. So looking at Malik reposted this, I think the m.sc. I think that Nightbot interpreted that as a link, and that's why it was being deleted. So sorry about that. Um, New York Code, thank you for being here. We love having you. Change the timeout from 600 seconds to 10 seconds. Nightbot. Okay, good. Malik likes competition. I'll go code for code with any of you for a job. Bring it. LOL. I'll let you take it. I'm at the point in my career and my journey where you all can go out and get the jobs. I will do whatever it takes to not need to get a job again. I will freelance, contract, make YouTube videos, sell templates. I would go get a job at Costco before I went back and worked in tech. I can't do it. I don't want to do it. I'm kind of over it. I want to I want to do my own thing. I want to work on my own tasks, and I will do whatever it takes to not need to get a job again. So I am officially off the market. I am not competing with you. You all can go out and get the jobs. You need the experience more than I do anyways. I've already had the experience. I'm good. I'm good. I don't need to do it anymore. So there's that. Okay. All right. Shall we get started? I think we should. Search on Google Prime Packs. Store domain, click. I don't know what that means. Not sure what that means. And New York Code, I've learned, don't Google things that people put in the chat unless you are relatively sure you know what people are talking about. It's a good way to get into trouble. So I suppose I could do it privately here. Prime Packs. I'm not sure what that means. So, well, should we get started? I think we should get started. But this was a fun conversation. I loved this. I love these conversations. Oh, that's your project. Got it. Search on Google Prime Packs. Store domain. Oh, let's see here. It is an e-commerce site. Very good. Well done. Oh, look at that. We have the on-page scroll. Good job. Nice. Oh, look at that. We have a nice little slide out off canvas. Nice. Good job. Good job, New York Code. See, this is great stuff to put in your portfolio. A nice e-commerce site, some good UI features. This is the type of stuff that, yes, employers are going to want to see. I think the front-end mentor projects are also excellent, and I would highly recommend that you work on the front-end mentor stuff, but also being able to come up with a couple fresh ideas yourself that you can implement and put in your portfolio. It's also a really, really good idea. So, nice job. Nice job. I love it. Yeah, that's fine. Oh, the back end isn't working. I don't know what happened. Story of my life. No problem. We can see the front end. That's the part that I'm best at looking at anyways. So, I still think that I think you're killing it, New York Code. Very good. Rizzy G, are you making something like a portfolio? I mean, the Italia site is not specifically a portfolio. So I was doing the front end mentors weather app project today, almost done with it. Nice. Nice. Can you check in incognito? Let's see. Nice little splash screen. Oh, there we go. There we go. Now we have our products. Good job. Well done. We have a back button. Footwear. Nice. Good job. And you deployed. Where did you deploy it to? Good job. Yes, that is a very cool project. Very nice and smooth. Nice. Yeah, we have a lot of people doing deployment. We love that. Malik did. He deployed Pastry last week. We love that. Yeah, I really want more front-end developers to understand deployment. So, well, good job, New York Code, front-end and back-end. I've only personally built a couple of full-stack apps, and they are very sensitive. I would not be comfortable building a full-stack app with a back end and keeping it up and running. I admire people who take that on and do that and actually keep those sites working. So I'm going to stick with the front end. So that is where I'm more comfortable. So, all right, should we get started? Should we get started working on, let's get started working on our stuff today. So what do we need to do here? Yeah, exactly. You don't know how tough it is to make something that is usable until you start to code. So kudos to him. Yeah, because if something's not usable, people will tell you. People will tell you. Something's usable, nobody will say anything to you. They won't even notice. So, okay. So we need to write our JavaScript so we can implement the slide toggle, the off-canvas navigation, and we can slide toggle the search. So what would that even look like? Let's just do it here. So for the menu, it would be, we're going to slide toggle the menu active class on the body, just like that. And then for the search, it would be search active, just like that. And I'm not attached to these styles. In fact, I think the styles need some work, but I want to we've been on this header now. This is week 3 that we've been on this header, and I just want to get this JavaScript implemented, finish doing the last few functional styles for the header, and then I want to get moving on the body. We can come back to the header because I just need to move on from the header, but we are going to come back to the header. I want to do the intersection observer, so on scroll we can make this a little smaller, especially on desktop, because right now I think that is way too big of a header. So what I would like to do is that intersection observer where we put in the div and we calculate the scroll in pixels, and then we can on scroll hide this top bar and the logo and just have the menu and the search be sticky at the top of the page. So let's try to get this done today, and I would be very happy. I would be very happy if we could just get this done today. So let's just start with something simple, like the navigation, which we've done 100 times at this point. So here's our script.js, and we'll add our defer tag. Let's see here. And we'll define a body variable. There we go, query selector. And then we'll define our buttons, which I think we just called menu button. And then we're going to define just the open button. Pretty sure it's open button. Yep. And then we will function toggle the menu. And if there's an open button, we will buttons for each button. And then we'll do an event listener for a click event. And of course that's a tap on mobile. And then we'll do a variable is active, and we will body class list toggle menu active. So if it's toggled on, it's true. If it's toggled off, it's false. So if is active, then we want to set the attribute on the open button. Which is the ARIA expanded open set attribute. Did I spell attribute right? Yes. And we want to set it to true, and it's a string. Let's see here. Oh, there we go. Okay. Else open set attribute ARIA expanded should be false. And then document, add event listener, DOM content loaded, menu, toggle. So we should see that toggle now. So we see the menu active. We can see here ARIA expanded is true. Then if we close, ARIA expanded false. Perfect. Now we want to make sure that we can, so if the menu, we're not trapping the focus inside of this flyout navigation. What does that mean? So if we tab in, so if we're just using our keyboard to tab through, we tab in, we hit that top navigation, then we get to the open button, and then we get to the search button. So that's perfect. And then we go down to the read more. So we enter the document. And that's exactly what we want. We don't want the menu or the search to be accessible by a screen reader or by keyboard navigation or by focus unless somebody explicitly clicks those buttons. That's the expected behavior. So if we go back up now, we have focus of the open button, and if I hit enter and then I continue to tab through, now we're inside the navigation. But we're not trapping the focus inside the navigation. And focus trapping, it's a nice to have, but it's not required. As long as the user can still see the page and can still see where the focus is. But what you should be doing is making sure that somebody can hit the escape key to close the menu. So that's the next function we're going to do. Okay, so now we'll do function escape toggle, or escape, as I like to say. Escape toggle. Name that movie. Okay, so if the open button, document, add event listener, and it's key down. Oops. So if the event key equals escape and body class list contains menu active, then body class list remove menu active. And on the open button, we want to set the attribute of aria expanded, oops, to false. So we should now, if we open this, so here's my mouse. If I hit the escape key, nice, that works. So we pretty much want to be able to do the exact same thing for the search. So I feel like we should be able to combine this with the search, right? Am I right? Am I clever enough to do that? I think so, maybe, possibly. So our buttons for the search are open search, button search. And then our form is search form, and then the close button is close search, button search. I feel like we could just do this again. I know it's not super efficient, but you can't be efficient all the time. So we already have the body. So we'll say, I kind of feel like we could reuse this though, menu button, even though that's not. So button search, menu button. I feel like that for each loop could be and then this could be specific to wouldn't that make sense to just for each through all of the buttons and then depending on which one it is? Although these are specific to the menu, how would you specify? Yeah, I think we can combine the escape toggle. But I need to do a separate search toggle. I know that's not efficient, but that's what I'm going to do. So we'll do search buttons. Button search. And then I'm just going to say search equals document query selector. The open button is just open search. So I'm going to do function search toggle, and we'll say if search if search search buttons for each const is search equals document, body. Search active. And if is search, we want search, which is the open button, set attribute to true, not false, true. Else search set attribute back to false. So this would be the toggle, the search toggle. And then I feel like for the escape, we can just combine this. So if open or search, so we're just checking to make sure that either of those things exist. And then if the escape key and then body class list contains menu active or body class list contains search active, body class list remove menu active, body class list remove search active, is JavaScript gonna yell at me for doing this? I don't think so. I don't know. Let's see. Let's see how it goes. Okay, those are just missing images. No, it doesn't like that. Did I get a name wrong? Did I get a variable wrong? Close search, button search. Button search, button search. Oh, no. Every time. Nope. Button search, open search, search buttons. Oh, hang on. I didn't do the event listener. Button, add event listener, click. There we go. Now we have to make sure that when this is open, we can hit escape. And we can. Huh, I did it. So let's make sure this works with our keyboard. So we'll tab, 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 tab. Nice. It works. It works. This makes me very happy. I don't know if I did this in the most efficient way possible, but I think it works. I know we could probably combine this into a function, into one function, but yeah, this is I'm intermediate at best when it comes to JavaScript. I kind of just muddle through. So, but it works exactly the way it's supposed to. So we are done with the JavaScript. No, we're not done with the JavaScript because we have to add our intersection observer. So let's say hello to a couple of people first. Rahul is here. Welcome, Rahul. Also a mod in the chat. We are so happy to have you. No one is here. Hello. All of my favorites are here today. This makes me so happy. Emilio's not here today. He's busy. He's got a lot going on. He's in school too. But most of my favorites are here today. Loving this so much. And Malik says, I just might not turn to the dark side. If I create my React components on my own, I definitely will if I just used a component library. I will have to be given a red lightsaber right away. I don't know what that means. That conversation is over my head. So you might be talking to somebody else. I just admire anybody who's going to dive into React because I'm avoiding it. I'm not going to do the React thing. So unless I'm absolutely forced to, which I don't think is going to happen. So, okay. So let's add our intersection observer now, which is the on-page scroll. So first we have to add right here at the top, right before the header, right after the opening body tag, I'm going to do a div with aria hidden true. And we'll give this a class of on scroll. So when the page scrolls, we're going to calculate in pixels this div, and then we'll add a class to the body tag. So let's come down here. And we'll say function on page scroll. Observer equals new intersection observer, and there's an entry, and we're going to say document body, document, well, actually, we don't need to do document body. We can just say body, right? Body. Body. There we go. Body, class list, toggle. We're going to add scrolled. Is intersecting. And then we're going to check the root margin. And we'll start with 35 pixels on the top. And we're just checking the scroll on the top of that div. To do this first. And we will most likely come back and adjust this, which is basically once it scrolls past 35 pixels, that's when we add the class to the body tag, and then we can use that class to hide those two sections. It might be more, it might be less. I literally am not sure. So that is working. Good. And we're going to have to deal with this scroll in a couple of places, right? We have to deal with it here, basically on desktop, and then we have to deal with it again here for mobile. So let's just start with desktop. Where's our CSS? Right here. So what are we going to hide? We're going to hide, we have this top banner, which is 42.4 pixels high. And then we have the H1, which is 104.2 pixels high. So if we were just going to do some rough math, 41 plus 104 is 145 pixels. So 35 as a scroll point is probably not enough, but let's just do the CSS and see for ourselves how it looks. So we should do this under the header. So here's our header, and it's the top banner, the primary heading, and then the nav container is the only thing that we're going to see. So we're just going to, what are we going to do? We are going to change top, right? It's already position sticky. We've already got top in as 0 for the top value. So we would just change, I think we would just do scrolled header, and we would change top to 145 pixels. And then I think we can transition it so it's smooth and it doesn't just pop. So transition top 300 milliseconds. For this, I'm going to do a linear transition, not ease in, ease out, because I want it to be smooth, linear. So let's see how this looks. Wrong direction. But you get the idea, right? You get the idea. So we want to go negative 145. How is that not enough? Did I not do the, how is that not enough? Oh, because the H1 does not take into account let me see here. The H1 probably has line height. So we're not getting the true height of the container. Is that really it? No, that's not it. Look at, see all the space around the H1 on the top and the bottom of that container? Oh, yeah, it's the margin around the SVG. Yeah, okay. So it's still saying it's 104.2 though, but it's not calculating everything outside the box. It's not calculating the margin. So let's adjust some of the spacing so we get an accurate calculation of what this H1 actually is. So instead of having all this margin on the SVG, which clearly this is meant, this 2rems auto is meant to center the SVG. We can still do that, but let's put padding on the H1 instead. The inside of the box model. But honestly, doesn't that look better? It looks a little tighter, right? Yeah. And then let's adjust. So then we have margin on the bottom of the H1, which is outside of the box model. Let's take that margin off on the primary heading. Well, actually, we're not even going to change this. We're just going to style specifically the primary heading because I do want margin on the bottom of H1, H2, H3. But I want unique styles for an H1 with the class of primary heading. Primary heading. So we're going to say, we can say padding 1rem on the top and bottom, 0 on the left and right, and then margin 0, and that's going to take that off. Look how much better that looks. It looks so much better. And now we're going to get an accurate count of how big that container actually is, which it's 136 pixels tall. So we've got 42 plus 136. Let's just do some rough math. 136 plus 42, 178. So now we can calculate negative 178. So once it passes the 35 pixel threshold, it will animate. What do we think? 35 pixels is perfect. That looks great. Although we can see this border kind of peeking down, right? I feel like I can see it. So what if we just round up to 180? Love, 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 love. It's so fancy. It's so fancy. Yeah, we really need to rethink some of our styles. Those blue buttons, those blue round buttons, and the search just looks weird. I'm not in love with this red color. So we're going to come back to the header though. As long as we have our like core functionality dialed in, that's really what I care about right now. And also I just have a deep desire to move on with my life and get going on the rest of the layout. So, but that just looks spectacular. I'm totally down with it. I'm totally down with it. I love how it looks. So now let's make sure, because when we're on mobile, I think it's going to be, yeah. We just need to recalculate the scrolled on mobile. So I think we would just recalculate it. That's 42.4. So we would do scrolled header top. It would be, well, we could do 42. I'm going to do 45. Let's see what happens with 45. Yeah, just like that. I think the transition needs to be a little quicker. I think 300 milliseconds is too slow. Let's just cut that in half and try 150. But I think linear is absolutely the right transition. Yeah, I think 150 is a little better. Yeah. do we think? Gosh, I like it. All right, well that went a lot faster than I thought it was going to. So let's carry on with let's just try to, well, let's make this hero section responsive, and then let's see if we can at least get our basic grid in place today, and then tomorrow we can just jump into styling the grid. Here we have like 3 weeks left. We have the rest of November to finish doing that, including this weekend. It's like 3 weeks left. I think we're going to get this one done in plenty of time. So here's our header. I just love this. Can I just scroll like this a little bit more? Because I like it so much. Love it. Okay. So let's do our hero next. So here's our hero wrap. I think we could do our media query at like 960. And we'll just do this. We don't need this. And we'll just say 1. And we'll change this to 1. And then let's make sure that our secondary headings are clamped. So the desktop font size is 3 rems. I think for mobile we could try 1.5 for VW 3 rems. Kind of guessing. Let's see here. I think it could be a little bigger than 1.5, maybe 2. Yeah, I like that size. Yeah, that works. And then I also think that this 2 rems of margin around this hero, we should also well, we can either clamp it or we can just do a media query. I would like to reduce the padding and the margin. And I think I'm just going to do a media query for those. Don't need this. And I'm just going to take these down to 1 rem for mobile. This is not a good time to look at this. Our grid is not making this mobile friendly right now. So Wow, that was fast. Okay. Even with all the talking I did at the beginning, we're still moving pretty quickly here. So we deserved a good day. After the last couple of weekends, we deserved a good day. So, okay, so here's our grid. We'll just call this the layout grid. And this is the grid wrap. And we'll say display grid. Grid template, whoops. Grid template columns. Repeat 3, 1 FR. Hang on. I can never remember if I need there we go. And then we have a slider here. We need to stack that slider, so let's do that. So here's our slider. Let's just stick another class in there. So here's our slider. So we'll say card, and then we'll give this an extra class of slider. I'm gonna say grid slider. Well, oh, slider, actually they can't have the same class. So slider, we'll call it slider wrap. Is that the best way to do that? I mean, if the UL has a class of slider, does the parent need to have? Could I just do MDN CSS has? Oops. Has represents an element if any of the relative selectors that are passed as an argument match at least one element when anchored against this element. Selects an H1 heading with a paragraph element that immediately follows the H1 and applies the style to the H1. I don't think we need this class, but I'm not sure. So for now, I'm just going to say slider, position relative. We'll give it a z index of 0, just as a baseline. And then we'll say slide, position absolute, inset 0. What do we want the aspect ratio of these to be? I guess I probably should have checked the, let's actually look at the mockup. So I'm just going to get a rough idea of what this aspect ratio is. So it says 598 by 399. So 600 by 300. What is that? It's not 2 to 1, is it? No, 600 divided by 300. Yes. That's 2 to 1. Does that look, wait, 300 or 400? Not 300, 600 divided by 400, 1.5 to 1. That's our aspect ratio. Whoops. So the slide is the LI. We'll put the aspect ratio on the UL. So we'll say width 100%, height auto, aspect ratio 1.5 to 1. And then the slide will be position absolute, inset 0, z index 1. So those should stack. And then the slide figure should be with 100% height, 100%. Well, we're going to find out if this works. And then this could be width 100%, height 100%, object fit cover. Yeah, technically this worked. Believe it or not, technically I think this did work. Maybe. Also, I think that our controls, we should position absolute our controls. And then what else do we have going? Oh, we also need to take off the margin and the padding on our UL. We'll position absolute our controls. Oh, hang on. Didn't I? This is slider. Didn't I take that off on the article? Oh, I didn't save this. Hang on. I don't think we need that. There we go. That's what I expected to see. It worked. So now let's take off. So the slider is the UL. So we have to take off the margin and the padding that the browser gives it. And list style type is none. And then we also need to make sure that we're adding some gap. So we'll do 2 rems. Yeah, look at that. Let's fix these images. Oh yeah, we do need to so we're going to have 2 sets of image styles, one for the slider and one for the rest of the images, which I think is just fine. But let's fix these 2 images. Did I not put images in there? Why isn't this working? go. All right. So now we need to do image styles specific to the card. So yeah, that was good that we did these specific to the slider. So now we'll do grid card. Well, grid, yeah. So that is still, so we did slider, slide, slide figure, slide image. So now this should be card figure, card image. Card, because slide figure, slide image is more specific. And it comes after these. So we'll say for the figure, to think about this. So we'll say for the figure, width is going to be 100%. Height will be auto. The aspect ratio will be 1.5 to 1. And that's that. And then the card image will be width 100%, height 100%, object fit, cover. There we go. So we have to style how we style the slider and the images and the containers is a little bit different because we have this unordered list that is position absolute, which is basically how we're going to for each through the images, and we will show the images with what? With opacity and what? Visibility. So the LIs, which is the slide, by default will be, well, if it's active, so if this is the, let's say this is the second one is the active slide. So by default, it will be visibility hidden and what? Visibility hidden, what did I just say it would be? Visibility hidden, opacity 0. But if it's slide active, then it's visibility visible, opacity 1. We also have to say pointer events. I think we should also say pointer events none and pointer events all for the active one. Oh, why am I not saving? What's wrong with you, Angela? Oh, I put it on the wrong. Let's see here. Slide active, visibility, oh, and Z index. Oh, hang on. Why are we not? Oh, right here. That's wrong. They need to be together. There we go. There we go. It's usually just a typo. So now, so that's what the JavaScript's going to do. So when we click the previous or next buttons, we're going to loop through everything, and then based on if we're going forward or backward, we'll apply the active class. So we can take out active here, and we can put it in here, and now we show that one. Or we can take it out, and we can add it here, and we can show that one. Yay! And then we can also transition it. So we'll do transition. So we would be transitioning the visibility, the opacity, and the pointer events, but I'm just going to say all. And we'll do 300 milliseconds, and we'll say ease in out. So now, if I take out, you see that nice little transition? Nice. There. So we will wire up the JavaScript for the slider next week. I don't want to do the JavaScript today. I want to keep going with our styles. This is the most work we've gotten done in one day on this particular project. So let's go ahead and style our buttons, our controls. And we can also, let's style our headphones, and we'll also style our play button. So, and then let's also, so here's our grid. Let's do, for mobile, we'll make this responsive. So how far do we think this holds up to? So here's 960. Boy, this is a giant. We might want to adjust this size. Like, I think it's okay to go into mobile for this hero at this size, but I don't think that picture needs to be that big. So the grid, I think, still looks pretty good at 960. So let's go from 3 to 2 items. And we'll take out the grid. And we'll go to 2 items, and we'll adjust the gap. There. And I think maybe around, I don't know, right around 500 pixels, we could drop this down to 1. This. Yeah. Looks good. All right, let's style our arrows. So what does our mock-up look like? Just 2 little circles. I can handle that. All right, so here's our slider controls. And so our slider is the sibling that immediately precedes the controls, and then the parent is the card. So we could do, we could definitely put another class here, or we could say we want this to be, well, I think the card, the article needs to be position relative, because we have to position the controls over top of the slider, but the card holds, I have to think about this. I don't really want it to be relative to the article because it's going to have a bigger height. I want it to be relative to the slider, which makes me feel like we should have a wrap around the slider and the controls. And I think that'll be fine. I don't think that will impact anything else. Yeah, because these styles are all specific to something else. This is just controlling the wrap. This controls the figure and the image just for the individual cards. Slider is position relative to that UL. Slide is the LI, which is absolutely positioned relative to the UL. That's what we want. So if we put a wrap, a div around the slider and the slider controls, and then made that div like this should be slider wrap is what this should be. And then I'm going to have a lot more, I'm going to be able to position the controls a lot easier over top of the slider. And that shouldn't impact anything. Yep, so we still look good here. So there's our wrap. Oh, yep, there's our wrap. That's perfect. That's what I wanted. So now I'm going to say up here, I'm also going to make this slider wrap position relative. And then we'll say position absolute. I think if we do inset 0, that'll work. But then also the controls, we also need this to be margin 0, padding 0, list style type none, and then display, I'm going to display flex. Flex flow is row no wrap. Justify content will be space between, which will put either button at the far edge. We'll say align items center. Where's our other button? Oh, it's right there. Oh, justify content space. We love a typo. Beautiful. How do you not love CSS and front end? How do you not love it? It's so amazing. Look at that. It's a thing of beauty. Okay, so here's our button, which we've got previous and we've got next. Those classes are mostly for JavaScript and targeting the JavaScript, but we've also got arrow button, that we're also going to use those for JavaScript. But right now, the arrow button is the class is the arrow button class is what I need for the styling. So we'll say arrow button. And how big do we? They're pretty big. We can take that down a little bit. So we'll do arrow button. We'll do padding of, well, we'll probably do 0.75 rems. And then we want arrow button SVG, which we've already said is display block. So we'll give it a width of 1.5 rems and a height of 1.5 rems. And the filler, the stroke is already black, which is just fine. And then we'll give the button a background color of white. And a border radius of 50% to make it round. Nice. I think we just need to make it a little smaller. Also, if we make this space around, it might pull it out a little bit. No, too much. That's fine. We can do space between. Although we wanted to have the tap target, right? So that's perfect. That's the perfect size. That's exactly what we want because we wanted to have that 48 by 48 tap target. So I am not going to make it this small because that is not big enough. So this is the perfect tap target. And then let's just give this a tiny bit of margin just to push it away from the edges. So the slider controls, we will give this a little bit of margin, like maybe 0.5 rems. Yeah, that looks great. That looks great. So now let's make sure that when we have a hover active focus for that. I love it though. So what do we want to have happen on hover active focus? We could make it, we could invert the colors. I don't really want to do that much. Let's do this. It's going to be very subtle. So let's do a border of 2 pixels, solid white. And then the background color is going to be we're going to do RGBA, and I'm going to do 255, 255, 255. The alpha transparency will be 100%, and then we're going to transition the background color and change it from like 100% to 60 or 65%. We'll do something very subtle. Transition, background color, oops, 300 milliseconds, ease in, out, and then we'll do our arrow button focus. Hover active. And oh, hang on. I'm just going to copy this. And I'm going to change this to, let's try 75%. There. I love it. It's very subtle, but we can still see that border. We get just the most subtle of shifts. Perfect. I'm down. So let's do the same thing here with our play button and our headphones button. And then that means then that tomorrow, I didn't think I was going to get this far today. That means tomorrow then we're going to work on the JavaScript for the slider, playing the video and playing the audio. And we are definitely going to be using GitHub Copilot to do all three of these things tomorrow. So I'm just going to let GitHub Copilot do the heavy lifting. That's what I pay it for. Actually, I don't pay it at all, but if I need to sign up, I will. I'm waiting until I actually run out of requests on GitHub Copilot. I don't use it that often. Yeah, so as soon as I run out of requests, I will happily pay $100 to GitHub for a year of GitHub Copilot. But so far I haven't run out, and it's done everything I've asked it to. All right, so where are our... Oh, you know what else we need to do? Is, speaking of AI, we actually need to ask AI if... Where is it? Okay. Maybe we need to do this tomorrow too, because I don't have these media files ready to go. And I put the SVGs inside the figure. So maybe it's better if we work on this tomorrow, because I need to get those media files into the markup. I need to know where to put this button if it goes inside the figure. Yeah, so it might be a better approach to wait and do that tomorrow. Yeah. So let's do this. Let's just go ahead and commit this and get it pushed up to our Git repository. And this might be a good point to just stop for the day. Git add, git commit. So styles for header, hero, and grid layout. And I don't think we're really ready to look at this on mobile yet. I don't know though, maybe. Yeah, we're still kind of breaking our grid, and that is because, why is that? Why are we breaking our grid? I don't know. Why are you breaking? I wonder if that header is the culprit. I don't know. So if we shrink down, can we... Yeah, we can. Look at that. Why is that breaking? Does it have something to do with our navigation? What is overflowing that is causing that? I feel like this is the culprit, but I'm not really sure. But this is how I usually do it. Left, -300. What side does it come out of? But it's on the other side. Which means it's probably the search. Because the search is over here. Yeah, it is because right there. So we did visibility, hidden, position, absolute, translate. I do remember this now from last weekend. We need to do, if we do position fixed, that'll take care of that. Because right now, it has to be fixed like the nav is fixed. I already succumbed to positioning last week. We might as well go all the way with fixed. Although it's going to be fixed is relative to the window, not to the container. And I can't do display none because I can't transition display none. Okay, let's just try it and see what happens. Okay. So here's our media query. So I think if we do fixed, yeah, it instantly, look at, I'm trying to like, that instantly fixed our apps overflow. What happens though? Yeah. It's relative to the window, not the container. That the transition won't work if we did display none, that would also fix it. So if we go back to position absolute, and instead of visibility hidden, if we did display none and display block, we just wouldn't be able to transition. Yeah. Can't transition display block. This problem has been solved so many times by so many people for such a long time. I feel like I should also be able to solve it. So. Maybe what we need to do, instead of having it like slide in from out of place, maybe we treat it kind of like the slider where everything is stacked, and just based on whether or not it's active, it then it comes into view. Does it need to slide, or can it just appear? You know what I mean? We have that class on the header, right? So let's take out display none, or display the display, and put visibility back on. And we know that so we can keep we'll keep these styles right here. It's still absolutely positioned, so that is good. But instead of sliding it to the left negative 208 pixels, maybe instead what we do is we say opacity 0, pointer events none, we can change this to all, so we don't have to write out every single one. And then instead of the transform, we say visibility visible, opacity 1, pointer events all, and this is what we transition. But we need to make sure that, this would be right 0. What do we think of that? Solves our problem. Solves our overflow problem. And it could be a little quicker too. Right now it's 300 milliseconds, which is pretty slow. I like it. I like it. Monique is confirming. I think you are confirming something that I said a little bit ago. Thank you. And Tanmay says, sorry to divert. I am a finance student. I just passed CFA-L1. I want to learn coding, which could help me in my career. I have not written a code in my life. Will HTML, CSS help? Or should I learn Python first? You know, that's actually a really good question. I mean, honestly, if you're going into finance, I would probably choose Python. This is one of those rare moments where I kind of have an opinion based on the context of the question here. HTML and CSS is not a programming language. So you're not really programming with HTML and CSS. You're building out UI elements in the browser. So if you want to learn coding specifically to help with finance, yeah, you would maybe probably want to learn Python first. Python is an object-oriented programming language. HTML and CSS are not object-oriented programming languages. They're design tools. So I would probably learn Python first. Now, that being said, if you have any interest in understanding how the browser works or how UI elements get built, I, of course, would absolutely encourage you to learn HTML and CSS. So for what it's worth, that's what I think. Oh, and look we have a little bit of Z index here. Let's fix this Z index, and then I want to push this up to Git one more time, and then we'll look at this on my phone. So we need to make sure that this has I think we just need to make sure it's the index 0. Oh, maybe -1. So let's add that there. But this is coming together. Okay, slider wrap. Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I think that's a really good idea. I think we need to adjust a little bit of spacing here, but we're getting the same effect. Yeah, look at that. Okay, let's push this again, and then we're gonna check this on, I'm gonna check this on my phone. We'll see how it looks. This is probably a good time to remind people to please like the stream if you are getting any value out of this type of content. Helps the algorithm, helps me push this type of video out to more people who might like front-end development. I would appreciate it so much. And if you haven't subscribed yet, would you please do so we can continue to grow the channel? I would appreciate it. What is it here? So Fixing z-index and overflow. Okay. And give me 1 second here. I have to go find my phone cord. All right, I found it. Let's see here. Well, let's go back here. This is the ink grid layout. Yep, so it looks like this is all deployed. Oh, it looks great. Let's see here. Where are we? Mouse, where are you? Okay. There we go. I have this problem every time I hook up my phone to OBS. It just doesn't show like the subtle shades of gray. So, but they are here. Yeah, it looks really good. If anybody else wants to take a look, I will put the link in the chat. And Tanmay says, talk to some friends and they suggested I learn HTML and CSS as it is somewhat sets some base for Python. Is that true or BS? I don't think, I know Python. I don't think that HTML or CSS sets a base for Python. What it might do is get you comfortable with the idea of coding, but HTML and CSS are not programming languages. HTML and CSS are not programming languages. Python is an object-oriented programming language. It is, in my opinion, completely different from HTML and CSS. HTML and CSS is about building UI elements for the browser. It's design and UI specific. So I don't personally agree with that, but maybe there's some context that they're talking about that I don't fully understand. If you're in finance and you want to learn programming, I would think that Python would probably be more aligned with that. But if you have an interest in understanding like the browser and accessibility and building UI elements, then HTML and CSS is a great way to go. So it depends on what your goals are. So what are your goals? So being that you are working in finance, what are your goals? What do you want to do with Python? Is there something specific that you want to do with Python? That would be my next question. But in my opinion, they're different things. So it depends on your goals. So let's see if the navigation works. It does. So we need to we need a better solution for the search, but that's okay. We're going to figure it out. At least now the search is working without breaking that overflow. And honestly, we may want to make that logo quite a bit smaller. I was working so hard to make it bigger and more noticeable, but really maybe it's okay to make it smaller. Maybe that's all right. But we're headed in the right direction here. I do think we're going in the right direction here. So, all right, yeah, this was a good productive day. Malik says it looks good, responsive, and clean. Nice. Oh, good, clean progress today deserves a like. Thank you, Malik. I appreciate that. We did have a fun day today, didn't we? Let's see who joined us here in the chat. Malik and Monique. Bakash was here. Sorry, Bakash, that your comments kept getting deleted. Apologize for that. Christian Codes. Mayurish Joshi was here. Let me see here. New York Code was here, his 16th project. He's built a full stack e-commerce website. Rizzy G was here. Rahul was here. Noan was here. And Tanmay was here. Love it. Thank you, everybody who joined us. Come back tomorrow. I think we're in kind of a fun spot with this one. So here are the choices for tomorrow. We can really dig into like the slider and the audio and the video. But the more I think about it, the more I would really like to just get the styles done and maybe come back and do the slider and the audio and the video. What do you guys think? Do you have a preference? Because I am kind of itching to start working on this part right here. Or maybe you don't care. Maybe you're here to just relax. Maybe you're here to just relax and it makes no difference. That's fine too. There's no wrong answer. There's no wrong answer. So Tanmay says, aiming for a quant role in 1 year, is it doable for a complete beginner like me? If you're looking for a quant role, then yeah, I definitely think you should be doing Python. I guess I sort of, from the context of your question, I felt like you were looking for a programming language that would complement finance, and I think Python is in line with that. I think anything object-oriented is probably in line with finance. So I don't think that you should be working on HTML and CSS if that's what you're going for. They're not programming languages. They're design languages. Is it doable for a complete beginner like me? Of course it's doable. You're going to get out of it what you put into it. It's going to be a lot of hard work, but if you are determined and dedicated and focused, of course it's doable. So it's tough for me I don't know this job market very well. I mean, front end is pretty rough right now. Full stack is pretty rough right now. I don't know your market or what the job situation is like for that, but it couldn't hurt, could it? So, all right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me today. I appreciate everybody who hung out in the chat, who asked me questions, who chatted with me. I appreciate it. Come back tomorrow. We will continue to work on this. I'm going to decide tonight what it is that I want to really continue to work on tomorrow. I'm leaning more towards CSS, but I could be talked into the JavaScript side of things. But I also don't have my media file or my video file done yet. So maybe we can just do the slider and then work on the CSS and then come back and do the media and the video. I don't know. And I'm not going to lose any sleep over it tonight either. So there's that. Okay, everybody, have a great rest of your day wherever you are, and I will see you in my next one. Bye-bye.